I realized in my younger days I was far too grandiose about this idea, I'm going to paint to the glory of God. As if I could, come into, look at what God himself had made, and I can do paintings which would somehow reflect gloriously upon who he is. It's a bit of paint on a piece of wood at the best, and it can't be compared to the reality. And as much as we might appreciate an impression of something, I would rather be on the beach looking than looking at a painting. I was born in the county of Devon in England. Painting became a big part in my life probably when I was in age of 11 onwards at my secondary school, which is what it would have been called in England. We are blessed if we can look back and say that we had a teacher that really made a difference in our lives. And Mr. Smith was that teacher. He was the art teacher. His heart was in going to an industrial place and to try to convey the passion of art and music to children that were growing up in an industrial setting that really didn't have much to look forward to. Mr. Smith noticed that I took a particular interest in his class, and so he began to do all he could to encourage me, because most didn't have an interest. Not only did he have to deal with a lack of interest amongst the children, but some of the other teachers were always trying to fight against him and stop what he was doing. And an example of that is with Mr. Williams, who was the woodwork teacher. And in my graduating year, we had this project that we had to do. And we were expected to put extra time in, but because I was always in the art class, so he came into the art class and started shouting at Mr. Smith, and he was really upset because I was spending all my time in the art class and I needed to be in the woodworking class, but I had no interest in the woodworking class. I'm really thankful for Mr. Smith. As a result of his effort, yes, I won an art scholarship to Loughborough Art College, and I was all interested in going. I'd set my heart on going. The scholarship covered the tuition. It didn't cover room and board, and my family weren't able to provide that, and so for a number of years my artistic interest waned. I took an engineering diploma for 4 years, which consisted of 4 years of college and four years of apprenticeship. I had the aptitude to do it with my hands, but I didn't have the confidence, and I didn't have the mental capacity that was required to think things through when I wasn't being told what to do. I think it was end of 1980 that I emigrated to Canada. Of course, I came with my engineering diploma and with abilities to use, or alleged abilities to use lathes and grinding machines. Kent Sweeney at what was then Sweeney's Fisheries hired me. But because I suffered so much from a lack of confidence, I couldn't even do the first job that was given to me, because in England they made equipment for the army. It was civilian run, but it had the army oversight. It was called a Royal Ordnance Factory. And so anything that you had to make, they gave you a drawing, and the drawing had all the specifications on it. And so you just made the component according to the drawing. But over here, the first job that was presented was a fisherman coming in with something that had broken off his boat and said, "Here, make me another one of these." And I didn't have a clue what it was, and I just didn't know what to do. And so I quickly realized that I was not going to succeed at this. In the end, I had the opportunity to go to Acadia University as a mature student, and so that's what I did, thinking that I was going to take an engineering degree and upgrade my diploma. But first day of chemistry class, never having taken chemistry in my whole life, I realized that that was not going to work either. And funnily enough, on that very day, I heard that that day was the last day that you could change your classes. Not only did I hear that, but also that they had an art program. And the moment I heard that they had an art program, well, I don't think anybody saw me go from the science building to the art building, because I must have gone so quickly, and enrolled in the art program and had a really interesting professor there, Michael Coyne. And given that it was a university program, I had to take other classes as well to meet the criteria for the degree. But my trouble is that I couldn't leave the art studio, and so when I was supposed to be in French class, guess where I was? I was in the art class. And so Mr. Coyne realized that university was not the way that I needed to go. So he recommended that I apply to the Ontario College of Art, but he didn't give me much hope, because at that time it was the preeminent art college in Canada, and so many people applied, thousands of people applied for 200 spaces, that he said, well, you can apply and just see how it goes. So I applied. Unfortunately, I was one of 2 people from Nova Scotia that year that gained entrance into their foundation year. Well, it was wonderful then, to go to the Ontario College of Art and to be part of a larger group. There were 200 of us, but we were divided into a number of classes, long classes, good professors or good instructors. And so during the day, I went to my classes, and in the evening, I went to the class in the evening where they set up a model and you could paint or draw. I had a wonderful time there. It was my own, I entered into my world at that point. When I went to OCA, I didn't have a strong identity with regard to style. Always had an interest in painting, looking at things and outdoors and standing or sitting there and drawing and painting them on the spot. When I went to Acadia University, it was all in the studio with still lives. And so my painting at that time was very tight. I had a drawing teacher, Abba Baeski. He had established a little bit of a reputation as a Canadian artist. Most of the teachers at the Ontario College of Art were recognized professional artists. And he was the one that I got attached to the most, because he would demonstrate. When I've seen something done, I've always generally had the ability to be able to do it, whatever it is. And so I found that very helpful. But there was another art teacher, in painting class, and to this day I can't remember his name. I've tried to track it down, but his approach was to set up the model, and you just started to paint, and he would come along and just give some direction, not as to how to paint, but what it was that you had to think about. And so that really consisted of my art education until after Ontario College of Art. After the foundation year at OCA, I had the opportunity to carry on and to get my art diploma, but I met a young woman who I fell head over heels in love with, and she meant more to me than what my art career did. And so I didn't go back to the Ontario College of Art, but during that summer I was introduced to a graduate of the Ontario College of Art who was living here in Yarmouth, and his name was Hugh Eamon. He took a look at what I was doing and thought that he saw some potential there, and out of the kindness of his heart, he offered me an entire year's tuition. Not just an hour a day, but 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday. every week for a whole year. So I greatly appreciate what he attempted to do. But that was much more in the line of showing me or instructing me in the hows of what to do it this way or to do it that way, of which some I treasure to this day, particularly the insight that he had been given through his own learning that had to do with the value of form in space, and to realize a feeling of that, so that when a person looked at a painting, it wasn't just something that was flat, but they had a sense of depth and a sense of volume to the form and that kind of thing. And at that time I became very much involved with the artistic community, particularly at the York, and with a provincial organization called VANS, Visual Arts Nova Scotia. I think they've morphed into something else now, but again, suffering from a lack of confidence, I drew back from VANS because I just didn't have the confidence or the background to know how to deal with the environment that I'd been thrust into. And so most of my involvement was locally. I served as president a number of occasions of the Art Society and vice president, and certainly was involved very much in the painting programs that took place during that. Yes, we can call it made a living from art, very subsistent kind of living, a bare thread kind of living, but I have that terrible disease like Vincent van Gogh. You're always living as an idealist, hoping for things down the road and enduring at the moment. But sadly that never materialized, and so, but I was fortunate. I look back on that time with great fondness because I probably spent close to 20 years, something in the neighborhood of that, painting and drawing and learning and pursuing the craft of painting. I was teaching as well, yes. It was just a wonderful time. It's such a wonderful medium. And to go out plein air painting, which I've done all my life, and to be out in the outdoors, we all know how spectacular southwest Nova Scotia can be. And so I feel very blessed. Plein air painting is a modern term. Plein air painting is something that has known a great increase over the last 10 years worldwide. It's a French word or words which mean out in the open. Essentially, you're just painting or drawing outdoors. And that has a history and a tradition to it that goes back. Many people take it back to French painting with the Impressionists, but it goes back into the 1700s with the English watercolor school. Essentially, they developed the outdoor painting, and partly due to the fact that at that time in the 1700s, oils were really restricted to a studio space because you didn't have tubes of oil and easel that collapses that you can take out outdoors and things like that. But plein air painting really has its roots in the English finishing schools for young ladies, because it was considered to be part of what they needed to do to learn to paint. Beatrix Potter, I believe that's where she learned to paint, in the finishing school for young ladies in England. And so that's really where plein air painting has its roots. It's quite interesting. Do I like showing my work? That's a yes and no question. Anybody that knows my work has to spend 10 minutes looking for my signature, because I just put like Albert Dürer, I just put a monogram in the bottom right or left hand of my painting, which is just a single T. And I try to do it as discreetly as possible because I don't want people looking at paintings because of reputations and because of names. But I don't like the sense of painting being, oh, what's the price of that? And what's the price of this? And he sells for that, and she only sells for this, and that kind of thing, you know, because there is that aspect to art where names are more important than work, and money is what makes something valuable or not. I think of paintings much more as come and see the wonder of what is. Yes, there is that aspect that they are my paintings, and they have to enter into my experience of that form in space. But it's not for the sake of come see how Tim Turpin paints a landscape. It's much more for this. Can I so paint something that will open somebody's eyes to seeing the landscape in a way that they appreciate what it is more for having seen that painting. Mr. Smith had that ability. He opened your eyes so that you wanted to see more and you wanted to do more. And sadly, I don't think I've ever done a painting that's met that criteria, but I keep trying. You know, to be a human being and to be put in the landscape, wow, it's a wonderful blessing because of what the landscape is.